Today, we're going to talk about retiring abroad as a couple and share some tips for a successful transition.
Welcome to Track Us Down. If you're just finding us, I'm Monique.
And I'm Doug.
On our channel, we talk about retiring early, moving abroad, and living a better second half of life. Today, we are talking about how retiring abroad as a couple has a set of challenges. So we are basing this on our own experience as we've been retired abroad for over a year and a half now. But we have had the opportunity to meet so many people, and this is one of the conversations that does come up. How is it retiring? How is it being a couple and moving abroad? What are some of the challenges that you face? So that's what we're going to talk about today.
And let's face it, there are many challenges to not only retiring abroad as a couple, but just retiring in general. Making sense of your second half of life after you've been busy every day at work can be a daunting task. If you add to that moving abroad to a different country and spending more time with your significant other, it can really add up to a lot of stress. Retiring abroad can be particularly challenging as a couple because you're not just adapting to a new phase of your life, you're adapting to a new country and a new culture. When there's two of you, you might have different ideas about what that retirement should look like and where it should be. Should it be in a busy city or should it be rural? These are all things that you have to take into consideration.
It's important to recognize these potential challenges and work together proactively to navigate them ahead of time.
When we were researching where we wanted to retire, we went through many countries, as we mentioned before, and settled together on Portugal. And from there, it was about where in Portugal we wanted to be. There's a lot of things to go through and a big list to decide together as far as what you want it to look like and where you want to be in retirement.
It's important to really talk clearly to one another about how you see your retirement. Sometimes saying something kind of vague, when we've talked to people, they'll say, oh, well, we want this kind of destination. And the other person might think that you mean one thing when you mean something completely different. So being clear when you're sharing your ideas with your partner is really important so that you both have a good understanding of what you're searching for in your second half. So with that said, let's get into some tips for a successful transition to retirement and moving abroad.
As a couple, our first tip is to research your destination thoroughly. Make sure you have a clear understanding of the local laws, healthcare, culture, and cost of living. When we were looking at moving to Portugal, there wasn't a lot of information about cost of living. That's why when we first got here, we did a lot of videos on specific cost of living because that's important if you're on a fixed budget or any budget. You want to know that you can survive in the new country you're going to.
And the same, of course, goes for healthcare when you're researching what plans are available and what kind of healthcare you're looking for.
So it's really important to research the destination you're going to together so you have an understanding of where you're going and what it's going to be like.
Our second tip is something we talked about earlier, and that's open communication. It's really important to talk regularly about what retirement will look like and what the destination will look like. If you let too much time slip by, you might slip into thinking about something different than what your spouse is thinking about, and you're not on the same page. So being on the same page about the destination, about the culture, and what you're going to experience as you move forward, as well as retirement, how you're feeling about retirement, because there's lots of emotions that go through leaving a long career and retiring and taking on something new. And that's something you need to openly communicate and talk about.
Our third tip is to be prepared for some culture shock. Moving to a new country with a new culture can be overwhelming at times, especially at the beginning. There are so many things to do, from arranging accommodations and driver's license and residency cards and just trying to understand the culture and the way things operate. It can really weigh on you at first. So you have to be patient with each other. Each of you is experiencing what's happening in a different way, and it could come out in different ways as well.
Absolutely. Everyone experiences stress from different situations differently. The feelings are different. Something that frustrates me sometimes might not frustrate Doug at all, and vice versa. Sometimes I see he's frustrated and it's not something that really doesn't bother me. Learning to navigate those, because a lot of those situations, more than in your first half of life, come at you in your second half of life, whether that's bureaucracy or just making new friends, getting out there, doing all the things that you do when you move abroad. You'll feel stressed differently, and you really do have to have an understanding for the other person.
But just know that you will get through this. Take it one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, together, have some laughs, share those experiences, and enjoy yourself.
Tip number 4 is to connect with your local community once you do move abroad. Now, this is something that Doug and I really talked about beforehand. When we chose Portugal, part of it was because we wanted to connect with the Portuguese people here and the expats as well. You really do have to make an effort. Sometimes in the first half of life, when you're busy working and raising a family, the friends and the relationships just kind of happen. You have neighbors, you have kids' sports that you become friends with parents. In the second half, when you get an apartment or a house, you really do have to make an effort as a couple to get out there and meet people. And that can look like signing up for a language class. We know lots of people who have been taking in-person classes and have made friends that way. That can be simply going for a walk in your own community and talking to your neighbors and getting to know people. But it also can be taking tennis lessons or taking any other kind of lessons or something you're interested in together. I think one of the keys is choosing at least one activity that you're doing together that you can talk about and that's new for both of you.
Our 5th tip is, of course, to be mindful of your financial situation. Make sure you have a clear understanding ahead of time of your retirement income and your potential expenses in your new country. Do your research, watch YouTube. On our channel, for the last year and a half, we've been talking about what it costs to live in Portugal, particularly Madeira, what it's like to live here as far as the culture, what it's like to live here on a day-to-day as far as our daily living experiences after coming from 50 years in North America. You can adapt it and take from it what you need and what applies to you. That's a good way to do research. So on that note, we'd love for you to subscribe to our channel and just join our chat every single week where we talk about retiring early, moving abroad, and living a better second half of life here on Madeira, Portugal.
And finally, our 6th tip is kind of the hardest one and the easiest one. Plan, but be spontaneous. You have to come to a new country as a couple, just retired, with a very open mind, open to new experiences and open to new opportunities, because you never know what is really going to unfold. So as much as you're doing the research and you're gathering that information, you're watching your budget, you're checking in with your partner, and you're dealing with all the feelings of retirement and all the bureaucracy with moving abroad, you do have to stay really open to whatever's going to happen's going to happen. New opportunities are going to present themselves, things that you can't even think of before you move abroad. Regularly just kind of checking in with one another and saying, okay, well, if this goes this way, let's go with it.
Retirement abroad is a great opportunity to explore a new part of the world and immerse yourself in a new culture. And that's what we've been doing here. We've definitely been immersing ourselves in the Portuguese culture. We love it here. We love their way of life. But we've been using it as a base, not only to explore Madeira, but to explore the region around here, from quick and easy side trips over to the mainland. And there's more opportunity laying ahead of us, whether it's Africa or other parts of Europe as well.
We've really lived this experience over the last year and a half, from both of us leaving our longtime careers and all the emotions that go with that, the moving abroad and being away from the familiarity and having to come somewhere new and start fresh. Based on our experience, we've had so many great conversations with others who've done the same. So pulling all that together, those are our 6 tips for retiring abroad as a couple based on our own experience and the experience of the people we've met here.
Remember, the key to a successful retirement abroad as a couple is communication, flexibility, research, and the willingness to embrace new experiences together.
Thank you for spending some of your day with us. We hope that you got some information about retiring abroad together as a couple. What are some of the challenges that you might face, as well as some tips for getting through them? And as always, check back in and
track us down.